Candace Owens just blasted Tim Pool for complaining that she is a scumbag, literally saying that, calling her that, for dividing the American right by investigating the assassination of Charlie Kirk and daring to say I don't believe every aspect of that FBI narrative that Kash Patel is trying to sell us all on. So in this clip, she gets into why he's totally wrong about this, why she is not the one that's divided the American right, and why she doesn't care about Republican midterm elections. So let's watch. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Now, on that note, I am obviously taking a lot of personal risk to get out the truth to you guys pertaining to what is happening to Charlie Kirk. One of the easiest things in the world is to be a critic of Candace Owens and a part of the people who do not have the courage to prod this federal narrative. Among those, of course, being Tim Pool, who has now dedicated hours and now is trying to signal to the public that I don't have security, which is untrue, but he is trying to get me harmed. I don't know what I've ever done to Tim Pool to deserve that at all, but Tim Pool has had some very choice words for me, which were trending last night on X. And I would like to share that to you because he thinks it's an act of bravery to attack me in this moment. So take a listen to Tim Pool.
Candace Owens is a f***ing evil scumbag. She is a degenerate. She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you told me? She has no security. She doesn't deal with the shit we have to deal with. She's a piece of shit. She's making everyone else suffer. And all of these conservatives out there that send me these messages have no balls to call her out. More and more people have started doing it. They send me these messages. Good for you, Tim. Good for you, Tim. I wasn't the first person to do it. I'm not going to take credit for that. But don't DM me like I did something for you as you cower, as you power, scared that she'll put you on her thumbnail and claim you benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination, which he's doing to me right now.
Yeah, that was the...
I'm done with these people.
She has security, just not on the level of you.
Oh, yeah, the one fat guy you mentioned with no wall and no barrier in a suburban neighborhood with neighbors. She doesn't give two no one's out for her. She's lying about all of this. You told me you went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy, and she doesn't give a about her security. Meanwhile, I get bullets fired at my property, and I have to go live in the middle of nowhere. And I got strangers coming up to my house in Maryland, breaking in. I got people showing up and beating up the residents who try to live there. How the am I even supposed to sell this property?
I mean, there's so many absurdities in that statement, but I'll just start with this. It's not Candace Owens that's dividing the American right and jeopardizing your precious midterms for the Republicans, Tim. It's Donald Trump, and it was Donald Trump the second he said, "Why is everybody still talking about Epstein? It's a Democratic hoax." That's when it started. And not just that, it's when we're going to bomb Iran, double down on Israel's atrocities, and defend this genocidal regime no matter what. All the while Americans are suffering at home, paying ludicrous prices. That's what's dividing the American right. It's not people who dare to question the FBI narrative, which you questioned a lot when Biden was in office. It's just so crazy how when, you're so rigidly tied to one of the politicians that's vying for the presidency and then your guy gets in, suddenly your mentality shifts to, we have to just trust the deep state on everything. The FBI Charlie Kirk narrative. Well, I'm sorry. Regular Americans see this for what it is, and we hate the FBI no matter who's in power. And I'm sorry, she's not a scumbag for rejecting that stupid narrative that the FBI always has to be trusted. That's the truth.
So there's a lot to unpack there. First and foremost, what you are seeing right there is on a display of testosterone. Men that speak to women like this are not tough guys, okay? What you are seeing is actually a display of estrogen. Everything he is doing there is somebody who is not a man, he is not tough, and he would never dare to speak to a man like that, right? People that find that very easy. Secondly, Tim Pool doesn't even have the intellect to understand that we put him in the thumbnail because he accused me in a full episode with Milo Yiannopoulos, which we showed and contextualized, of being someone who benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Yeah, that's exactly right, but he's not relying on people to go and watch that whole clip. He's just hoping that they buy into his big, deranged epithet there against Candace Owens. He did strike at her, call her the perpetrator of dividing the right, as if that's something she's doing and not this corrupt presidential administration. That is what's going on here. It's not Candace Owens that was the aggressor in that way.
So he thinks he's being accused. No, you accused me of that in like a actually, I think it was 2-hour episode with Milo Yiannopoulos, in which Milo defended me and explained that I am not to blame for the lame excuses that the feds have given us regarding Charlie Kirk's assassination. And that if we do need to have some spiritual searching in terms of what the Republican Party has become, that the time for that is now. Okay. So this little, and I really like, he's a small person for this, a very small person who is also theatrical, Timothy Smollett, who pretends every year like people are trying to kill him. He's a chronic fence sitter, okay? Pretending like he is braving the wilderness for being the 110th person who's making a video about Candace Owens.
Yeah, that's the safest thing you can do in this environment when all the Zionists, all the corporate media hacks are also against Candace Owens and you're siding with her. And I've noticed that Tim Pool never launches into these scathing rebukes of people that are literal neocons, like Lindsey Graham, the guy that Trump is campaigning for right now, like Ben Shapiro, who clearly prioritizes Israel above the United States, despite the fact that your guy is the president that got into office under America First as the slogan. You never criticize those guys for prioritizing Israel over the interests of the U.S., launching wars in our name that are backward and against countries that don't pose a threat to the United States. How about you launch into a scathing rebuke of people supporting Venezuela regime change or Iranian regime change or doubling down on Israel's atrocities and patting Netanyahu on the back and trying to get him out of fraud and corruption charges? How about that, Tim?
In the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, he thinks he's pioneering that? Are you out of your mind? It's only the safest thing you can do. What's next? Is he going to make a video and call Kanye West anti-Semitic? Like that's what he's pioneering right now. Oh my gosh, so original. Like, is he going to call Donald Trump evil in 2016? This is the storm that he's braving, is jumping on the side of what everyone else is doing. He is a fundamentally weak man for what he did there. He should apologize. He won't. I don't care what happens to his platform. He's now essentially trying out, because he's under financial pressure. He's trying out for a Zionist to pay him, and they will. Okay, they will cut him a check, and I hope that happens for you, Tim. I hope it makes you happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just completely analyzing this the wrong way to think that Candace Owens is the root of this schism on the right that is going to threaten your midterms. No, it's the fraudulent and catastrophic promises that were broken by your president, the guy that rode into the White House promising transparency on Epstein and end to the war in Ukraine day one, to actually entertain the prospect of a government agency that would slash $2 trillion from the federal budget. I mean, it's just a meme at this point, all while saying America first and then having the real president, it seems like Netanyahu, to the White House 4 or 5 times at this point. Oh yeah, and the Al-Qaeda leader of Syria welcomed with open arms. You're not going to criticize that, but Candace Owens is arch villain of America. It's just all so absurd. It's just showing how warped this mindset is, where you're going to blame her for the wrongdoing of people in government and back the Fed narrative, I guess, because she has dared to question it, at least to the most basic level, and not even doing anything that hurts American citizens. What this gives people information you don't want them to see, Tim, that's what she's doing. I guess that's what she's guilty of. Guilty as charged, right?
But to do that to someone who has never done anything to you other than disagree with you about the Charlie Kirk narrative, I have not focused my content on you, and anytime your name has come up, it has been because you have explicitly been attacking me. You are a coward. You are less than a man. Okay, you are behaving, your type right there is like a person who's having financial issues and yet decides to go out and put 100K on a poker game. And when he loses and is a further 100K in the hole, comes back home and beats his wife and kids and thinks he's a tough guy. That's how you're acting right now. I'm not your wife. I'm not your kids. Get your affairs in order and stop blaming me, because I'm actually traversing down the path that hasn't been traveled by standing up and saying that something corrupt happened and Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And I don't care about your midterms. Okay. I don't care about your next year midterms and whether or not the Republican Party is united. Okay. Because I don't want to stand next to people that would cover up Charlie Kirk's assassination. I hope that I have made my point perfectly clear.
Wow, she has to me, and I'm assuming my audience, and that's one of the reasons people respect her more than just about every content creator and influencer out there. It's because Candace Owens, her mind isn't locked into this tribalistic mentality where it's my guy versus the Democrat guy or the Democrat guy versus the Republican guy on Washington. She just stands on principle and searching for the truth among a sea of inconsistencies and lies given to us by the FBI. And I'm not even saying that everything she's brought up is indicative of something pertaining to Charlie Kirk's assassination, but that's fine. That's what an investigation is called. She has the right to do it. She's not evil for doing it, quite to the contrary, especially when the feds have fed us so many lies over time, especially the FBI. Of all institutions, we're going to trust the FBI down to the line on this, and if you diverge from that allowable, acceptable spectrum of opinion regarding the Charlie Kirk assassination, somehow you're the villain? It just doesn't even make sense. No, not after Jan 6 entrapment, not after Whitmer entrapment, not after Ruby Ridge, not after the Philadelphia bombing, not after Waco, not after COINTELPRO and wiretapping Stokely Carmichael and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, not after murdering Fred Hampton, not after burning women and children alive at Waco. We're not going to accept it anymore. These schemes cannot be just swallowed by Americans anymore from a deep state institution that you complained about when they tried to frame the sitting president for treason, saying that he was acting out the interest of Russia in his first term, even as he supplied Ukraine with weapons, shredded the INF treaty, slapped new sanctions on Russia, etc. It was a scheme to take him out, and you rightly criticized the FBI then. What about under Kash Patel? It doesn't seem like there's that much criticism from Tim Pool's podcast to the FBI now, does there? Why? It's the tribalistic mentality. Your guy is in office. Well, I say abolish the FBI no matter who ostensibly controls it, because the real problem is that the deep state controls too much. Regardless of the sitting president, it needs to be dismantled. There's no reforming it. Kash Patel isn't going to steer it in a better direction or eliminate the Hoover building, as he famously boasted, and set up a deep state museum in its place. I think we're going to be waiting a long time. I think it's going to be that skeleton meme back like this, waiting for that museum to the deep state that we're aching to have under Kash Patel, and hearing his promises on that. Look, Candace Owens is so much better than her worst adversaries in terms of her moral quality and her integrity. She just is, and this is why no matter how many disagreements I have with some of the angles that she's brought up, it's just clear that wholesale the FBI narrative is wrong. And to dive into that, to disrupt that precious narrative that you seem to be so enraged over rupturing, Tim, it seems like that doesn't exactly affect us on the same level as, say, wars or supporting Israel at all costs or doubling down on debt spending in a time when we're $38 trillion in debt does. That seems a lot more dangerous, right? And there's a reason that he's developed a reputation as being Beanie Shapiro, because, again, he doesn't have these kind of epithets against the neocons. He certainly doesn't, not to this level. I've never seen it, at least. And Tim Pool invited me to his show last year in June. I thanked him for it. I'm glad he had me. I'm glad he had people that disagreed with him. He's had, Dave Smith and Scott Horton and some of my other friends on his show, too, that disagree with him on a lot. Thankfully, I guess he had Milo Yiannopoulos and you're relying on Milo at this point to tell the truth about this, But Tim Pool is not going to be courageous enough to call out what this is, and it really is a mass pressure campaign from the Zionists and Conservative Inc. on Candace Owens for not backing their boys' narrative at the FBI. That's exactly what this is. So that's what we're seeing here. Candace Owens, thanks for that amazing soliloquy. we have to admire, I guess, her will and her relentless nature and her fearless nature. It's actually what I admire most, and that's something that I hope that I can embrace sometime, that kind of fearless mentality when it seems like everyone in the political establishment is gunning her down. And Tim Pool, ironically, is on the same side as Nick Fuentes on this in terms of hating her, generally backing the FBI narrative, and saying that she is supervillain number one for going down this path. Well, when you have Nick Fuentes and Tim Pool against you for the same reasons, this thing seems like you might be doing something right. But that's all I got to say. Let me know what you think. Is Candace Owens right about this? Is Tim Pool just embracing some kind of financial profit from launching into this? Do you think it's a genuinely held opinion on his behalf? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to Tucker, or not Tucker. You can subscribe to Tucker too, but also Candace Owens. Really like the segment, enjoyed her take on this, certainly agree with her on that. And if you like this video, please consider becoming a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button down below, and if you do that, you can get access to all my videos before they go live to the general public on my channel, so you'll be able to watch all those members only videos immediately if you do that, and I appreciate your support if you do. And also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below. It'll shoot you out to a website. You just plug in your email. I'll send you a copy of that book in PDF form, free of charge, just because I appreciate you watching. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.
The question is, how many more weeks and years do we have to keep pretending like Ben Shapiro is relevant? The entire world knows that you are an imposter. Of course, what followed Ben Shapiro on stage is somebody who Charlie Kirk loved very much and who he fought for to the very end against the Jewish donors who were pressuring him, some of them because Ben Shapiro insisted that they do. Take a listen to what Tucker Carlson had to say when he hit the stage.
Ben Shapiro, in a moment of wild desperation at Turning Point USA's event just a few days ago, called out both Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens for various reasons, including, of course, not towing the Israel First line. So Candace hits back hard here in this clip, calling Ben Shapiro a deranged and irrelevant worm. Listen to her explain why his speech was full of lies and how Tucker Carlson so soundly rebuked him such that he should be absolutely humiliated at this point. Let's get into it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
But I'm showing you this because it's important for you to understand that this has never stopped. I want you to imagine if you view yourself to be a slave owner and that slave not only survives like this public whipping, but that escapes and becomes successful. That's pretty much my relationship with Ben Shapiro since he's fired me, because they have not stopped. They have not stopped. I am talking about people working behind the scenes to call advertisers, attempting to bankrupt me in courts, sending undercover interns to stalk me. He has issued thus far 3 court proceedings, okay, for every solitary petty infraction against things that I say. He's worked with Barry Weiss behind the scenes to have articles written about me. It is non-stop. I refer to this, just to be clear, as legal abuse. It's legal abuse. And I have put up with a lot of it. I have put up with the pettiness of even suing me because I interviewed a USS Liberty survivor who mentioned your name as you pretend that you care about free speech and debate. I've put up with a lot of it, but today I draw the line. I draw the line with this miserable imp when it comes to Charlie Kirk, okay? Don't try me on this, but you keep trying me on this. You are an imposter, Ben. You're an imposter. You pay to pretend that you're friends, that you have a right to be on that stage because you get donors to pressure people, because you know Jewish people who can threaten to take money, or you say, I'm gonna do an advertising spend. Here's $1 million. I'm sorry, you're dead. The entire world knows that you are an imposter. I mean, you're so much of a fraud that essentially what you do is you have people send around clips to grown men to cheer you on, to pretend like the audiences love you. You staff audiences with people that work for YAF who are told to explode into cheers when you hit the stage because you don't have the confidence anymore to go out into the world because you know people see you for what you are.
That's what the Zionists pretty much have to do now, with so many Americans turning away from that approach. It's not like it's winning people over, quite to the contrary, especially lately. And I'll be real, I'm not big on Candace's slave analogy, but here's what her crimes were, according to the Daily Wire. They were: 1, saying that genocide is wrong no matter who does it, which is absolutely correct. That was her first crime with Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. And her second crime was liking, not even making, a tweet about this at the time when it caused a schism with Ben Shapiro that said Netanyahu is a war criminal, which he is, and which he was when she liked it. So for that, Ben Shapiro has gone to war against Candace Owens. Why? Because his priorities are such that this rogue foreign regime is his priority. It's not America. And he can try to shoehorn that into America first as much as he wants. But the people that actually do value their sovereignty, do value their communities, their culture here in America, and the problems and turmoil that are being caused domestically, do care about that. And that's the side that Candace generally fights on. So yeah, even if you don't like the slave analogy, she's right here, and Ben Shapiro is so clearly wrong. So clearly an imposter and imp, like she says.
And so exactly what he did yesterday. We can now listen to what this imposter said as he hit the stage. Charlie Kirk's organization, the one that he built for debate, if you have a disagreement, and he instructs people here in this speech to go after me and Tucker Carlson, right? That's what he's going to do. He wants us deplatformed. So he's going to attack me, he's going to attack Tucker Carlson, and he's going to attack Megyn Kelly because she's at the beginning of what these people have put me and Tucker and Charlie Kirk through. Take a listen to a portion of what Ben had to say.
So, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk casting aspersions at TPUSA and the people who work here, who worked with Charlie every single day, his best friends, to cast aspersions at Mikey McCoy and Andrew Colvin and Blake Neff and Tyler Boyer, and yes, at Erika Kirk, and to imply or outright claim complicity in a cover-up over Charlie's murder, to spew absolutely baseless trash implicating everyone from French intelligence to Mossad to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder or a cover-up in that murder, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name.
Yeah, refute it with arguments. There's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. When you go on stage, no one's saying you should be canceled. But guess what you do, Ben Shapiro? You're a indistinguishable Zionist from the liberal establishment that said these people should be canceled. They shouldn't be given a platform. That's your position. And she hasn't implicated Mossad in Charlie Kirk's assassination, nor has she said that Erika Kirk is responsible for Charlie Kirk's assassination or complicit in it. That's just so absurd, and it's just not being bought by people. Yeah, is she exploring alternative avenues? Yeah, of course she is. Because guess what? The Fed slop narrative doesn't exactly work when they're having a 30-06 round stick in his throat, and you had an imposter, decoy boy, George Zinn, claiming that he shot Charlie Kirk, and then when he got to the police station, oh no, I didn't shoot Charlie Kirk, I just acted like that so the real killer should be able to escape. Nothing to see there, though, right? No problems with the Fed narrative, right? Totally fine with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi's handling of it, Ben? Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Candace deserves this investigation on the part of her friend who died after he expressed his own concerns that the lone nut narratives in cases like JFK were wrong.
So no, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA. Or to mirror her bullshit lines of questioning because you love Candace personally. The same holds true of Megyn Kelly, a person I consider a friend, characterizing Candace as a young mother and thus shying away from condemning her actions or fibbing about them.
Just listen to this. This is conservative Inc. requiring that people on the right that are much more prominent than Ben, by the way, who's lost thousands of subscribers over these absurd diatribes, must denounce this thing or this person or X, lest they be just lambasted on stage over and over and over. And you have the free speech, Ben. No one's calling for you to be terminated. People are questioning why you are on that stage when Charlie Kirk didn't exactly like you. And by the way, that's another revelation that Candace revealed that you don't particularly like, in addition to the one when he said he had no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. That's documented on the record. He also had some, let's just say, not so kind things to say about Ben over text as well, Candace revealing them both. But listen to this. This is the state of Zionist Inc. You must denounce X. Otherwise, you don't deserve to have a platform. It truly is the same tactic as the liberal establishment against conservatives, who, some of which, like Ben Shapiro, made their careers on blasting that mentality. It's so ironic you can't even make that up. It's preposterous.
That is a non-starter. When Candace Owens says, I don't know, but I know, that is retarded. And we are all more retarded for having heard it.
And you must renounce using the word retardation. Otherwise, it's a complete insult to the lower IQ individuals among us. Like, that would be the retort if you were adopting the same strategy he goes with here, right? It's just so stupid.
Well, Ben, when it comes to you and having worked with you, I just know the tactics that you use to feign popularity in the public. I just know the amount of money that you are willing to spend on advertising to inflate your numbers to make people think that you're popular. So, yeah, I don't have to say we don't know when it comes to you. You are such a joke of a little man. Your jealousy against Tucker, your ability to believe that you can keep manipulating the markets. You know those kids booed you on that stage. The amount of messages I got from Turning Point USA people saying, what is happening? Why is he on this stage? Standing against everything that Charlie believed in. That's what you're doing. You're standing against everything that Charlie believed in because you weren't his friend. He didn't like you for that very reason. I look at you and I just think you are such a little worm. I could see you right now, probably. What can we get out to her? We're going to sue her into bankruptcy again, right? Sue her for every infraction, every word that I don't like, and every time my feelings are hurt. Because what you really believe in is Baal Berith. That's what your people believe in. You believe that you are contract lords and that people are not allowed to violate contracts or you will ruin them for years. You fire someone and you effectively stalk and harass them for years after. I'm here to let you know that I'm done with it. I am done with it. This one is so fully off of the mother effing plantation. Truly, Ben Shapiro, fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on. And I say that on behalf of the world.
Wow, man, Candace is going hard here. I'm not big on vulgarity. You guys know that about me, but in some sense, I can't blame Candace for that, especially after he said that about her on stage. And you know what's so crazy and comical about this, too, is that Ben Shapiro's big thing was facts don't care about your feelings, right? But at no point does he actually try to take on the arguments and avenues that Candace has brought up. He just belittles them, demeans them, and falsely distorts them from the stage without actually tackling the arguments. Here's where I think Candace is getting it wrong. Why? Because he knows his ideas are losing in the court of public opinion. And guess what Charlie Kirk and his organization were all about, were supposed to be all about? Perverted to some extent, as organizations like this always are. It's letting the marketplace of ideas decide. He was the guy that went underneath the tent and said, debate me. He said, come at me, bring your best argument, and I'll tackle your argument with my own if they do conflict. That was Charlie Kirk's approach. Not to demean people, not to belittle people and demand your quote-unquote friends condemn someone else just to comport and conform with your ideas, like he's saying toward Megyn Kelly. Well, guess what? Megyn Kelly, say what you want about her. She is a fence sitter on the Israel issue, certainly so. But she did say, I don't think me and Ben Shapiro are friends anymore. And I do not blame her one bit for that either.
I know. You're going to get applauded by Konstantin Kisin and Andrew Christ is King Clavin and all of the people, the men who have to keep applauding what you do like you're a 4-year-old to make you feel good. But the rest of the world can't stand you. You're obnoxious. You have absolutely no values that exist outside of the Talmud. You describe yourself as a Talmudic Jew, and I've learned what's in that Talmud, and I encourage other people at home to learn what is in that Talmud so that you know what Ben thinks of you, because he doesn't just hate me, he hates you too, white men. He hates all black people, okay? If he's following the rules of the Talmud, I mean, when I say hates, they think that we're animals. that they have a right to own us, that they have a right to make us worship them, that they have a right to lie to us, that they have a right to sue us and take everything that we have, that they have a right to deceive us, that they have a right to treat Charlie the way that he treated Charlie while he was alive, only to then try to defraud the population into thinking that he is somehow a part of his legacy, that he somehow cared about Charlie Kirk and cares to protect the people that are working at Turning Point USA. Goodbye, Ben. Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty legitimate that Charlie Kirk didn't exactly go out of his way to get Ben Shapiro on stage at previous events. It did seem like there was something of a rift there, though. They did seem to share an affinity toward Israel, both of them, for a long time. Of course, as we know, due to Candace's revelations and more information that's come out from Max Blumenthal and others, he was starting to at least question some of those beliefs and ideas, and ultimately, like I said earlier, said that he had no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. So it does seem odd, maybe not odd, but manipulative, but that's Ben Shapiro's middle name. It should just be Ben Manipulator Shapiro at this point. Tried to twist that into what Charlie would have wanted, trying to lay claim to that, even though, again, he didn't exactly tackle any of these arguments with his own arguments. Why? He can't. He knows the American people aren't on his side. He knows that the Turning Point USA audience isn't on his side. He knows that the larger political zeitgeist is not on his side. He's Israel first to the core, he's FBI first, he's trust the CIA on everything, and get into as many regime changes as possible, and that's why Americans have shut the door on him. Candace is right about that.
Question is, how much more money is Ben Shapiro going to spend to make people think that he's popular? How many more articles is his father going to write under a pen name, Hank Berrien of the Daily Wire, under the pen name Hank Berrien, as he wrote while Ben was at Breitbart, before he turned his back and betrayed them too, because that is his nature. He's one of these belly creatures, sliver on. The question is, how many more weeks and years do we have to keep pretending like Ben Shapiro is relevant? It's an open-ended question. Of course, what followed Ben Shapiro on stage is somebody who Charlie Kirk loved very much, and who he fought for to the very end against the Jewish donors who were pressuring him, some of them because Ben Shapiro insisted that they do.
Absolutely. Before we get into that clip, this is correct. Max Blumenthal's three-piece investigation on this shows that not only Robert Shillman, but Bill Ackman both withdrew donations from Turning Point USA because Charlie Kirk insisted that Tucker Carlson would speak at this event where he was delivering this speech. Didn't exactly make them embrace Charlie Kirk anymore, with Charlie Kirk digging his heels in defense of his friend Tucker Carlson, when all the Zionists didn't exactly want Carlson out there. Because why? He's a little bit critical of Israel. And by critical, I mean he doesn't toe the Hasbara line, which they would want him to do.
Take a listen to what Tucker Carlson had to say when he hit the stage.
The prediction that, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, to help, and really felt that was important. I still think, I was right. But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal my nouns, deplatform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? The whole Red Guard Cultural Revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left, that we did everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate. I mean, this kind of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life.
Yeah, and I don't think that most people that are charitably would disagree with him on that, by the way. Love Charlie or hate him, he was willing to debate the ideas. To the extent that they were orchestrated, what kind of questions he would take, things like that, that might be up for debate. But he was willing to take on the arguments. Something that the Zionists like Ben Shapiro are not willing to do. Why? Because genocide is indefensible. Israel First is indefensible. AIPAC is indefensible. Netanyahu's criminal genocidal government is indefensible. So it's the Ben Shapiroites out there saying you must denounce X or Y is very un-Charlie Kirk, that's for sure.
And I think that I think that he died for it. I really believe that. And I know a lot about it because the last several months of Charlie's life were devoted in part to arguing about this event, in fact, this speech, in fact, my speech here, which he asked me to do earlier this year, this summer, and was immediately put under just immense pressure from people who give money to Turning Point, I would assume good people, but who wanted him to take me off the roster. And this has all become public, and the whole thing is so sad that I never talk about it, except to say Charlie stood firm in his often stated and deeply held belief that people should be able to debate, and that if you have something valid to say, if you're telling the truth, you ought to be able to explain it calmly and in detail to people who don't agree with you, and that you shouldn't immediately resort to shut up racist.
Imagine that.
That is Charlie Kirk's true legacy, and that is Charlie Kirk's true friend, just as I was and am and will continue to fight and ask questions about who killed Charlie Kirk. And to people that are at home, I implore you to wake up.
Yeah, wake up about this MAGA civil war of sorts. You can say it's fake, you can say it's not, but there is a schism on the America right that does swirl around Israel and peripheral issues that are attached to the Israel first mentality that we see out of the deep state, we see out of Congress, we see out of this presidency. And something I want to add there, it's not only that Charlie Kirk dug in his heels in defense of his friend Tucker Carlson to deliver this speech at this event, not Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro was added later. Charlie Kirk did not insist that Ben Shapiro should speak at this event. It seems like those that took over Turning Point afterward gave him a pathway to speak here. It was Charlie Kirk defending Tucker Carlson, his friend. But not only that, in that same chat group message, again, which Candace revealed, she revealed this chat group message 48 hours before he died. Charlie Kirk also said, I'm thinking about inviting Candace Owens too. Not exactly what you would do to try to, subdue tensions that rise from this billionaire Zionist class that wants you to continue to support Israel at all costs. Charlie defended, say whatever you want about him, he defended his friend Tucker Carlson. He was friends with Candace Owens until the end. He was struggling with the Israel issue. It seems more and more clear now, even since May and the letter that he wrote to Benjamin Netanyahu. It seems like he was shifting his mind on that issue. And you can see it on the August 6th, 2025 episode of the Megyn Kelly Show too, where he is in obvious frustration that he can't even levy marginal critiques on Israel lest his character be called into question. You could see the frustration kind of jump off the screen if you watch that episode. It's still on Megyn Kelly's channel. But that's what you get here, and that's why people are turning against the Ben Shapiro mentality. He isn't exactly relevant. He gets much more, buzz than he really deserves. He has a YouTube channel that has 7.2 million people following it as subscribers. But this channel often has its videos do well and perform better than that channel. I can't even believe that. It's not every video, of course, but many of my videos do better than Ben Shapiro's. And it's just indicative of a changing tide, a changing political tide that we're seeing with many more people waking up about this Israel-occupied government and the enormous and disproportionate influence Israel's government has over our government. And what that means, it means robbery of our sovereignty, as I said, that we can't have our own values, our own traditions, our own policies. It has to be dictated by this genocidal regime overseas as part of an empire-building project that the military-industrial complex, the banks, and the war-maker neocon Zionists in Washington want us to have. Well, I say I'm done with it all. I'm glad that Candace Owens is here to expose Ben Shapiro and his evils. It's hard for me to take issue with her, vulgar approach in response to him, even though that's not my style, given what he's done and his reprehensible attitudes that have actively promoted and encouraged genocide of the Palestinians and starting regime change wars throughout the Middle East. For what? Debt, inflation, enemies abroad. Thousands of American soldiers died, 5 million people dead in the overall war of terror, which he supported wholesale, basically every single part of it. and the Taliban being replaced with the Taliban over 4 presidents in about 20 years. That's the fruits of that kind of foreign policy that he promotes and still does, and still unapologetic about it. But that's where we're at. What do you guys think? Do you think Candace is right? Do you think Ben Shapiro, is utterly irrelevant at this point? Why did he get to speak at Turning Point? Are they just under the control of the Zionists completely? Doesn't seem like it if you also get Tucker Carlson there, but certainly parts of that organization seem to be Zionist controlled still to me. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, also subscribe to Candace. Great video, great breakdown. I really just admire Candace's relentless behavior and attitude, and she puts it forward in this clip for sure. Also, if you like this video, please consider joining as a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button below. If you do that, you can gain immediate access to all my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. So you'll be able to watch those members only videos right away if you do, and I appreciate your support if you do. Also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below. It'll send you off to a website. You just plug in your email and I'll send you a full PDF copy of that entire book, free of charge, no obligation, just because I appreciate you watching. And until I see you guys next time, my demands are simple. No more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.